Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of This Just In Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from HLTH25 in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to be here. It's already been an action-packed 48 hours since I landed. The prominence of this specific show grows every year, and I'm fortunate to be able to host and broadcast annually from here. Rich Scarfo and the entire health team are extremely supportive, and I'm tremendously grateful. Also, make a special note of thanks to Dan Kendall for his support in managing all these health broadcasts and recording. He's been terrific. This is actually my 11th year broadcasting from a healthcare industry conference, and certainly people like Dan and my full-time producer, Roberta Mullen, has helped us just create a top-notch show, but also win 2024 Podcast of the Year. Very grateful for that. And all of my guests for sure there too. For today, though, I have a fantastic lineup of CEOs, CIOs, care providers, policy leaders, and visionaries. If you miss any of this broadcast or want to hear more of This Just In Radio shows, they're all posted at Amazon Music, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and the TuneIn platforms. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My goal, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies to not only survive, but thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, your community, or even your family through all these changes occurring across healthcare. There's nothing more important, and there's more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive. But we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of that over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Now, on to my guests. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from sunny Las Vegas. And for Health 2025, my very good friend, Rasu Shrestha, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
As always, thank you.
I'm taking your word for it that it's sunny Las Vegas, because I have not been outside. I mean, look.
Exactly. We've been trapped in the building. So first of all, it's been a good couple days for you here?
It's been great. It's been fantastic, yeah.
So what's your main goal for attending health in these events in general?
Yeah, so, the word of the year for me this year was intentionality. So when I come to a conference like Health, it is about intentionally meeting with just a handful of curated folks that would accelerate the pace of some of the things that we're doing, right? So CEOs, some investors, but also some acquaintances, right? Because at the end of the day, this really is about the human elements of how we connect the dots. So that's really important. So, a handful of that. This year was also fortunate to have been invited to give a talk on the main stage here, and just finished my keynote today. So that was another main goal for me at Health this year, was just to get the word out and talk about some of the really cool things that we're doing at Advocate Health in Charlotte, North Carolina, and really across the health system. But yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me a little about the keynote.
Yeah, so I talked about the Pearl. Pearl is the innovation district in Charlotte, North Carolina.
You launched it, you started talking about it last year on the show, that you guys are coming up and you just officially launched it now.
Exactly, that's right. We broke ground 2 years ago and just launched it June of 2025. And just about 3 weeks ago was when we also launched ERCAD North America, which is really a destination center for surgeons around experiential learning, surgical simulation, robotics, and minimally invasive surgery, AI. So it's just been absolutely one thing after another, really amazing. But look, at the end of the day, the Pearl Innovation District in Charlotte, North Carolina is about three things. It's about the trifecta of health, learning, and community, right? Health, because not just healthcare or sick care, right? Really health, right? How do you really push the boundaries of clinical advancements, but innovations in technologies and business model innovation around health? Learning, right? This is also the home to Charlotte's first four-year medical school. Charlotte was one of the largest metropolitan cities in North America to not have a four-year medical school. And we'd said a couple of years ago that we would solve for that. And now it's a past tense. So Charlotte was the largest metropolitan city in North America to not have a four-year medical school. So we just went live with the first batch of...
So that's the Pearl. I thought it was an innovation center, but it's also a medical school. It's an innovation center as well.
Absolutely. Correct? So what is not innovative about medical school if you flip the curriculum, right? So that's what we did. We flipped the curriculum, and this arguably is perhaps one of the most innovative med schools in the country. But that's where again, when you think about health, learning, and community, right, this is a part of the community. It's part of the Brooklyn district.
Yep.
But this is also where we bring in investors and innovators and entrepreneurs and researchers and scientists and into the community. And we're creating, by the time we're done with the Pearl, Justin would have created 11,500 new jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
women, minority-owned businesses, not just large tech companies like Siemens and Stryker, Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, Boston Scientific, or startups like Proximity Health and a number of others, but also women, minority-owned businesses and others. So really this ecosystem of intentional collisions between players really focused on, again, intentionality and purpose.
Yep. Love it. Congratulations. I know it's been a lot of work. What are you most excited about happening in the industry, what you're seeing in the industry today?
Yeah, I'm excited with the fact that AI has come of age, right? So we talk about AI quite a bit, and oftentimes it's really this bubble, and you're just like, talking about AI for the sake of talking about AI. We're investing in AI because someone's thrown a .ai out at you, right? But as a radiologist and as a health system executive, I get to see the fact that look, this is actually making a difference, right? It's saving radiologists and physicians time.
Absolutely.
Right? It's allowing for them to focus on the things that they need to be focusing in on. Right? So when you talk about conversational AI and ambient listening, and these are things that have now really taken off and should in fact be the standard of care and will quickly very much be the standard of care. And in radiology, if you look at all of the FDA approved applications out there, it's 75% or so are in radiology.
Yes.
And I think it's quickly getting to a point, Justin, where if you're not using AI, chances are there's going to be something quite dangerous that might happen that you may not catch.
Exactly.
Right? When it comes to the litigations and I think it could get to a point where you might get sued if you're not using AI.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's really getting to that point of really transformative impact that is really changing the way that we're practicing care and also changing the way that we're looking at the business of healthcare.
Absolutely. You're the second. So John Holamka, our good friend John, has been saying that now for about a year. If you're not using some type of AI, you could actually be basically you need to worry about malpractice at some point in the next 3 to 5 years.
Exactly
for sure.
right. Yep.
So agree. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing out there in healthcare today? Obviously, you're on the front side. Obviously, you talk about AI and how we're seeing that now going into use much more than we're talking about it.
So, I love that there's an abject level of focus right now on rural health. I think that's really important, right? And especially when you look at a health system like Advocate Health, and we've grown tremendously in the last many years. Growth, a lot of times, conflicts with innovations in rural health, right? But not for Advocate. And we're really double downing on, the remotest parts of Georgia, Macon, Georgia, right? Or
Jeff
Rome,
was on my show last week.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Or in Milwaukee, right? Outside of Milwaukee, in Wisconsin, or remote parts of Illinois and the Carolinas and such. And so we're really pushing the boundaries of innovations in rural transformation and rural health. I think there are tremendous opportunities around that. I'm also really excited by the fact that care is shifting now dramatically away from the bricks and mortar facilities.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So health at home and wellness is now a thing. It's not just a nice to have or something that certain consumers are demanding. It is a business model that many are now gravitating towards, and we've been leading that charge with our Connected Care Everywhere strategy now for a while, and the largest hospital at home program in the country. And I'm really excited about the fact that look, care shouldn't and doesn't always need to be focused in only on the bricks and mortar. The clicks and mortar element of care is becoming quite real as well. So I'm excited about that too.
So if you're obviously you're Advocate. So if you're another health system, not quite the size and scope and scale of Advocate, how do they begin some of these journeys? Because everybody's on a different level of adoption and different strategies, and they're different for different communities. But where would someone start? Like as a CIO or a CMIO, or where do you guys begin that? Where do you begin that journey? Obviously not from day one, but how do you give them the plan, the roadmap for the confidence to go forward?
Yeah, it's easy when someone says do what matters, but really at the end of the day, you got to do what matters, right? I think it's really important not to get blinded by this shiny object syndrome.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's so many shiny objects hitting us left, right, and center. So, just do what matters, be focused in your business model, right? So it could be a smaller health system, a smaller community center or whatnot, but be focused in on what matters to you and what you're about and what you stand for, right? At the end of the day, it's also about partnerships, right? And whether it's for larger health systems like us or smaller health systems and clinics and others, I think you got to partner. I mean, healthcare is too darn hard and too darn complex for any one of us to try to solve for it on our own, right? So I think we got to partner intentionally, right? And it's not just partnership for the sake of partnership. I'm always a big advocate of skin in the game.
Absolutely.
How do you co-create and co-develop and really partner the right way so that you can really move both of the agendas forward?
Yes.
And I think that's really important as well.
You're great at that at UPMC, and obviously great at that at Advocate too.
Thank you.
So looking into the proverbial crystal ball, what do you think, and again, I know this is probably fastest to AI, but what do you think is something that we need to be ready to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now? I know it's tough and things are evolving quickly in some areas, not quickly in other areas. But what do you think we need to be ready for that maybe we're not talking about today?
Well, I'll give you a response that maybe you haven't heard too much of.
Love it.
Right? I think it's going to dawn upon us that what we really need is business model innovation, right? So not just, again, let's throw more AI at it, or or even some of what I talked
More
about in remote patient
AI,
monitoring and wearables and so these are all important. But I think what's even more important is business model innovation. If we're not really thinking astutely about the business model, right? And if we're getting incentivized in the ways that we've always practiced care for years at a time, it's going to be an impossible uphill battle, regardless of how many LLMs you throw at it, and regardless of how many shiny objects you put in front of health systems, right? So business model innovation, I think, is going to be really important. What that means is we need to think differently in terms of the value that we're generating and accruing, the shared risk that we're taking, right? So there could be tighter deals with payers, there could be more value-based contracts, there could be different ways that we're incentivizing certain elements of the care model transformation that's playing out. I think that's really important. And Justin, I would even argue that until and unless we get to that point, I think we're just chasing all these shiny objects and running around in circles.
Yeah. I agree. And I think, you gave us some really good examples and foundations on how people can start to look at that in their communities, because I think we've also got, you and I talk about this almost every year. So there's personal responsibility in here as well as us as citizens, whatever country you're in, but as us as citizens of the country, and how we take care of ourselves and what do we bring to this equation? Because we need to start thinking like that as a society as well, because government's one piece, our company where we may work is another piece, but us as citizens, we also need to start looking at ourselves, because this is getting a little bit, we're not getting exactly healthier the way that we want to. You and I know we take care of ourselves for very good reasons, but that's a piece of the pie that I want to start talking a bit more of. I think that goes back to what you just said of when you're creating community, if you get people more involved, you educate them more, because people don't even know. I'm shocked how many people don't understand about healthy eating and aspects like that, and sort of bring that. To your point is when you bring that discussion out to them and you start to do these partnerships, you open up their eyes and they're going to say, you create a better community in that regard. So God bless you for that. I love that piece, because we don't talk about that enough. So in our closing minute or so, where are you off to the rest of the year? Are you going to do fall forum, Chime Fall Forum, reInvent?
Yes, I will be at the Chime Fall Forum. I'm actually speaking there, so it'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. So look, at the end of the day, it is about continuing to create more impact, and I'm excited that we're up and running with the Pearl and the new medical school and ERCAT North America, and we're already starting to think about what's next. How do we build on this and really take this to the next level? And then similarly, we're really focused in also on innovations in other parts of Advocate Health, south side of Chicago. That's a big area of focus for us. Right? This is
where you guys started, wasn't it? Advocate was there 10, 15 years ago.
Well, yes. And now with Advocate Health, we've committed to really address some of the disparities that exist between the south side and north side of Chicago. There's a 30-year life expectancy gap between the two areas there. And so we've announced $1 billion investment in the south side of Chicago, and there's some amazing things that we're doing. And it's not just about building a tower, right? That's not how you solve for some of those really deep and ingrained challenges. It's about bringing in the right partnerships with barbershops and with community practices, with churches and pastors, but also bringing in things like point-of-care ultrasound devices and looking at care model transformation in very different ways, right? And changing behaviors and patterns and habits and using data and AI capabilities around that to really influence, true transformation, especially in a deeply rooted set of challenges such as that. So super excited about that, right? Because again, innovation isn't just about setting up a new medical school and a big robotic institute. Those are really important,
right?
But it's also about rural health. It's also about things like the south side of Chicago and addressing some of the biggest challenges that exist in healthcare.
I love it. Rasu, thank you so much, my friend.
Absolutely.
Great time. Appreciate
Thanks,
you, man.
Justin.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from Health 2025 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest, Dr. Rowland Ealing, Global Chief Medical Officer and Director, Healthcare and Life Sciences with AWS. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's been great to meet you last night officially for the first time, but thank you for joining us today. How's the conference been so far for you?
I think the conference has been excellent. I thoroughly enjoy getting together with innovators, technology experts, and of course, old friends, to really talk about the advances and where we're seeing real changes being made to patient care at scale.
Yep. And so I guess what is your, kind of layering onto that, what is your main goal for attending these types of conferences? Obviously, reconnecting students, innovations out there, but even you obviously travel globally. So what do you look forward to when you come to these conferences in general?
Well, I think from the perspective of AWS, so we are the largest global technology provider for cloud, and a large portion of that is healthcare and life sciences. Right. And so our aim is to democratize access to compute, storage, networking, and of course AI at scale. And so these are great opportunities to get together with innovators and the startup ecosystem in particular, where we see a lot of builders building on our platform to develop the next generation of solutions.
Love it. Awesome. What progress are you most excited to see happening in healthcare today or in the industry today?
I think the talk of the town is obviously AI in general. And so we've seen a lot of movement with foundation models, generative AI, and of course the next thing, which is now agentic AI.
Yes.
So these autonomous software agents which can have tasks which they can pursue independently in a non-linear fashion to achieve outcomes. And I think that will be the next big step in healthcare. We're seeing it come through already in life sciences, but I think healthcare will be the next frontier.
Yeah. So kind of layering on there, what do you think about, what trends should we be looking out, or what are you starting to see? Obviously AI, agentic AI, but what do you start to see as trends over the past year and for the next couple of 6 to 12 months? What should we be ready to navigate?
I think that we're seeing the ability for technology actually to fade into the background, and that may sound odd,
right? Yeah.
But in actual fact, the promise of generative AI in the clinics, actually where clinicians engage with generative AI solutions, things like ambient voice technology and patient record summarization technology, things like that really support care providers to take the heavy burden off them in terms of note-taking and follow-up. And I think what that then allows is the care providers to engage more meaningfully with patients. And so although some of this technology is directed towards the care providers, in actual fact, the knock-on effect on patients where they feel more listened to, they have a real human experience with their care provider, I think that's incredibly powerful. And if you can take that technology and put it in the background so it just works, that is where the goal is.
Absolutely. So I heard something little, not controversial yesterday, but I'd love your take on this. Right now in a health system, we might have 7 different AI engines, 10, eventually might have 15 to 20, depending on all the different products. A little bit off script here, but what do you think, from that perspective? Obviously, as AWS has been a significant provider here, what would you say to a health system that has to look at that? The CIO or the CTO, the CMO has to look at that going, I might have, again, 5 today, 7 tomorrow, 10 next year, different AI engines, different, governance models possibly for that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So obviously we support a large number of, startups across the world. So we, as I said, 80% of healthcare and life science unicorn companies are platformed on AWS.
Yes.
And so we have this large ecosystem who are all building to solve customer problems. Mm-hmm. And so it's a natural evolution of any technology. I don't think that AI is particularly unique in this.
Right.
I think any startup is building to solve a problem. Mm-hmm. And of course, there are many, many problems in healthcare, as we know. And so as a result, there are many different solutions which are competing for attention over many, many different subject areas. So, You think about radiology. So radiology is my interest in particular because that's my background. Yeah. But in radiology alone, we see a huge number of different AI solutions coming up that look at different areas of even one scan. So there are many different solutions that look at CT scans and look for specific disease entities. As time goes on, as every technology does, I think there'll be mergers, there'll be acquisitions, the best products will survive, others will go by the wayside, and I think there'll be a natural aggregation of solutions together to create suites. Obviously, some of the larger companies, again, so we're very privileged to work with some of the large tech companies like GE and Philips, and we're seeing those companies also experimenting and also buying solutions from some of these startups to create broader platforms. So again, I think this is part of the natural technology cycle. And if you're an organization trying to make those decisions, I think it's really about answering or addressing your most pressing problems first.
I love that. Great answer. So thinking about what trends might be occurring out there, or do you see that we may not hear about tech right now? I mean, I know there's a lot of great things here at Health, but anything out there that we maybe not, we're not talking about, but you're kind of seeing bubbling up, or something that we keep an eye on?
So, as I say, I think the agentic piece we're putting a lot of focus on. So, as a tech platform, we're looking to make it easy for builders to build. Mm-hmm. And so we really approach it in a 3 layers of a technology stack. So at the bottom layer of the stack, we've got our SageMaker Unified Studio, which allows organizations to build foundation models and build agentic agents from scratch. And we're actually building out our own silicon for that as well. But then once you've got those foundation models, how you actually put them into production, how do you put them into applications is actually very challenging, because also there are many, many different types of foundation model you can now use. Multimodal foundation models will be a thing of the future. So at the moment, large language models are the flavor, but that's just language.
Right.
But actually there's large data models, so you can put imaging, genomics, pathology models, lots of different types. And so we introduced this Bedrock service, which will allow model choice evaluation, secure customization, and also the ability to build agents on top. So we just launched something called Agent Core.
Okay.
And so Agent Core will allow organizations to build agents on top of their foundation models. And then the top layer of the stack is actually out-of-the-box agents. So we actually, again, very recently just launched Quick Suite, which will enable organizations to take, it's a fully managed agentic platform. So, and actually Amazon are using that themselves. Mm-hmm. So we're actually got access to it. And so you can actually put data into the platform and actually build agents yourself in a no-code way. So putting that technology into the hands of end users and not making it a technology problem is a really important democratizing effect. So that's what we see that the direction of travel will be, is really allowing greater access across the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I think you answered my next question a little bit there, but diving in deep, my main listenership are CIOs and health system or CTOs, and a lot of them, they've started some of their initial models with AI and deploying AI for great use cases. What would you say to the average, and like we talk about Rasu, he's obviously on the kind of the cutting edge, and
absolutely,
like John Halanka, they're doing phenomenal things with their organizations. But for smaller organizations, mid-sized organizations, where would some of those start? And obviously, find simple use cases and start there. But what best practices would you offer to them, or say, hey guys, this is a great way for you to start with? They might have a little bit less resources and stuff like that. What's a good strategy? Some thoughts there.
Yeah, so again, we work across the whole spectrum of health systems, from academic medical centers that are building and managing their own models to small health systems that want very much managed services, because their job is to deliver healthcare, not necessarily to innovate and to build. And so again, we work very closely with our partners in that space. So for instance, Innovasa have just released their agentic platform called Gravity. And so that is a partner that is building out these agentic flows from scratch, and they can work with these smaller health systems to really see where they can innovate. Again, choosing your battles is really important.
Absolutely.
And so the smaller health systems may not want to go into the clinical domain initially, because again, that's a very heavily regulated space, as we all know, and getting over those hurdles, making sure FDA clearance and everything is watertight, is a non-trivial task. And so often those systems want to start with a more operational-based workflows, and actually how they can bring some of this technology to improve operational efficiency. So for instance, we've been working with health systems in Texas to manage their call center operations. And so just by bringing in an automated call center and patient engagement platform, they were able to reduce they had 1,800 patients waiting for appointments. They were able to reduce their backlog by 60% in 3 months, just to move to a more automated call center and patient engagement platform. And I think that's a very exciting piece of efficiency, especially when centers are under incredible cost constraints and driving, a lot of health centers are being asked to reduce their costs by 10% over the next 3 years. And that's an incredible thing to try and do. But I think with the technology that we're now seeing coming into the market, that's achievable.
Fantastic. Love that, and thank you for that. So thinking beyond today, what's really something that we need to be ready to navigate and kind of put on your proverbial crystal ball in the next 2 to 3 years? So maybe we're not talking about, we have not quite seen here at Health, we may not see it at Vive next year, but what's something we need to think about for 2 or 3 years from now?
I think that automation, I think we're just starting to see the agentic AI coming in to healthcare, but it's already in production in life sciences. I think we're going to see an explosion of in production healthcare use cases for agents. And I think it will affect every step of the patient pathway, from the operational side to patient booking, finding the right appointment, finding the right clinician, all through patient care and follow-up, and also linking patients to research. So I think there'll be much more merge between the life science space and the healthcare space in terms of clinical trials, clinical trial matching, and the ability to really deliver a much more bespoke kind of treatment to patients in the future. And we're seeing that come through now. It'll really take off in the next 2 to 3 years.
Love that. I'm going to do a follow-up with a little bit more controversy. EHR, for the most part, is the source of truth for a lot of our health systems.
Yeah.
There's obviously, with what's happening with AI, and we know in the opportunity, we've seen glimpses of it. Where do you think the EHR will obviously always be its essential component, but do you see now an expansion past the EHR as a source of truth? And
well, I think we're already seeing an expansion beyond the EHR as a source of truth, because there are many other data sources that are necessary for patient care. As I go back to one of my original comments, which was about there are different types of data available. So it's not just text data from the electronic medical record. Mm-hmm. There's also genomic data. There's also ambient voice data. There's biometric data, pathology data, imaging data, as well as wearable data. So I think there are many, many different data sources. Now, the electronic medical record is definitely a system of record.
Right.
The question is, what other things will be running on top of that system of record in the future? Yeah. And certainly the current administration in the US is very focused on opening up agentic marketplaces where agents will be working on behalf of patients, leveraging that electronic medical record data in order to try and drive better outcomes. And so I think there's a whole opportunity to expand the ability of electronic medical records from being static, being repositories, to much more engaging, both with patients as individuals as well as health systems themselves.
Love it. Excellent answer. Rowland, Dr. Ewing, thank you so much, my friend. Good to have you here.
Absolute pleasure.
We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.